selected for tennis. He was born in New York City, grew up in New Jersey, played high school tennis at Fair Lawn High School, and following graduation, he played Division I tennis at Bucknell, during which time Bucknell won 2 conference championships. At age 28, Bob became a certified tennis official. That was in 1979. In 1982, he was accepted at Indian Wells and at the U.S. Open. During a career spanning 40 years, he officiated at numerous international events, including Davis and Fed Cups, Wimbledon, and the Olympics. During this time, Bob also maintained a large San Diego presence at numerous United States Tennis Association and International Tennis Federation events. He was selected to officiate at the 1984 Olympics and was assigned over 40 U.S. Opens. Bob Christianson.
Thanks, Bob, for that nice introduction. I'm the tennis guy. I read somewhere in giving a speech to a group, you should have a prop. This is my prop. Tennis, a minor sport in America. I can see some yawns out there even before I begin to speak, as the evening's getting late. So I'm going to do a little audience participation. I want to see in a show of hands as to how many watched any of the U.S. Open finals this past weekend on either Saturday or Sunday. Why are they all on this side of the room? Anyway, my point being, tennis is a minor sport in America. But believe it or not, it's the second biggest sport in the world, behind soccer. Remember, women play it, and that makes up half the components. It's also the 3rd most gambled sport in the world, which I find hard to believe because I never hear of any gambling in America. It's all Eastern European and Russian. Number 1 is soccer, of course, and number 2, obviously, is horse racing. But again, tennis is the 3rd most gambled sport in the world. I've been to 40 U.S. Opens, and that's probably the highlight of my career. My first year in 1982, I was all of 28 years old. The average age was probably 50 of my fellow officials. And much to my surprise, I was selected to work the finals my very first year, which no doubt upset a lot of the senior officials who were there. But I got to do the Jimmy Connors Ivan Lendl final in 1982, which led me to basically a full-time professional career. I've worked 15 Davis Cups, and that means you travel outside the country. I've been to large segments of South America, Asia, even Africa. There's more tennis Davis Cup teams than there are World Cup soccer teams. So outside the U.S., tennis is a very major sport. But here it's probably 9th or 10th at best. How did I get into tennis? Basically, I was an atrocious swimmer. So when my fellow buddies and brothers would go to the pool on a hot afternoon, I would go cross a few streets and play on the public tennis courts. I had an aptitude for it. By age 12, I was nationally ranked, and I had sponsors, which enabled my mother to take me to tournaments around the country. I was selected at the U.S. Open in '82, as I said, but I've also worked extensively at Indian Wells, ATP, and WTA events. I know I probably shouldn't be using initials, because most of you are baseball, football, basketball people, but those are the men's and women's professional tennis. Also, many Davis Cups, as I said, and the Olympics. And I've probably traveled to about 15 countries. So about 3 months of the year, I would travel outside of the U.S. But the vast majority of the time, I was right here in San Diego, doing local events. As Dennis will remember, I worked for him for 15 years when he was CIF commissioner, and I gave 6 weeks a year to San Diego CIFs. I also worked all the local events at La Jolla Beach and Tennis Club, Balboa Tennis Club, Barnes Tennis Center. I was president of the San Diego County Tennis Umpires Association, and for 28 years, I was adult assignments coordinator. I don't know how you other sports organizations do it. We have an adult coordinator, we have a junior coordinator, and we have a college coordinator. And between the three of us, we handle all the assignments. We're small. We only have about 30 people, and I would say only 15 are active. So we are very small. In terms of who I want to thank, obviously my parents. I was one of 5 children, so when my mother traveled with me, I was too young to travel alone. She had to leave the family, so obviously I thank her. I'd like to thank Ron Bennett from 2014. Ron was my mentor. We traveled internationally at least 7 or 8 times. And on those 12 and 15-hour airline flights, you get to know somebody pretty well. And he was an enormous help to me. I'd like to thank Tom Miles for shepherding me through this process, and the board for selecting, again, somebody from a minor sport. I read in USA Today that sports officiating is currently suffering a 50,000 shortage of officials nationwide in all sports. Is there any sport out here that has enough officials? No. Okay. You could say COVID created it. I'm not so sure. But we've been very short in tennis for a while. We've even had to reschedule matches, cancel them on occasion, but hopefully that'll alleviate itself at some point. 750,000 people attended the U.S. Open this year, an average of 53,000 people a day. The U.S. Open is the largest sporting event played in the world each year on an annual basis. You follow me there? It's huge. And I had the privilege, until I retired about a year and a half ago, of working 40 of them. There's nothing like it. The TV audience for the men's singles final is 3.5 times the Super Bowl. Again, you got to consider America only makes up 5% of the world's population, and a lot of the world watches tennis. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time and attention. Stuck in my stomach? Okay.